All right, let's dive in. Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to unpack complex stuff and pull out those, indispensable insights you need. Today's a bit different and honestly pretty exciting. We're looking at practice questions for the CPOA exam, that's Certified Product Owner Agile. Now hang on, don't let that acronym scare you off. You might not be prepping for that specific cert, but our mission today, it's to find the universal truths hidden in these questions. Think of it like getting a backstage pass, really, to understand what makes any project, any idea, or any team truly click. We're going to pull out the key nuggets, offer some shortcuts to fundamental principles, and maybe reveal some surprising facts about how things really get done successfully. So whether you're leading something small, learning a new skill, or just trying to figure out a tricky problem, these ideas, pure gold.
That's exactly right. These aren't just test questions. They're like distilled wisdom. They give you a structured but still super practical way to think about, well, everything. Setting goals, understanding who you're doing it for, building good teams. We want to go beyond just the what and really get into the why, give you a solid mental toolkit that works way beyond just software or products. It's really about bringing any idea to life successfully.
Okay, so first big question. How do you make sure you're not just, busy, but actually building the right thing, heading in the right direction? Where do you even start? This first bit is all about finding that North Star, aligning your work with the big goals. Imagine a team, right? They feel like they're just churning out stuff, busy, but maybe not totally sure if it connects to the company's main objectives. What's a core tool or approach that really gets everyone on the same page, pointing the same way?
Yeah, that's such a common thing, isn't it? Teams get really bogged down. And what often gets missed, or maybe even sidestepped sometimes, is the product roadmap. It's easy to get lost in the weeds, endless user stories, massive feature lists, or just focusing on what shipped last week. But a roadmap, it's that high-level visual guide. It shows the product's direction over time. And what's really powerful about it, surprisingly powerful, is how it acts like both a map and a compass. It makes sure every task, every little decision ties right back to those big strategic goals. It's the essential bridge, really, between what we're doing today and why it matters in the long run.
Oh, I like that map and compass.
Yeah.
It's not just a list, it's a story, a strategic one. The big picture everyone can look back at, from the newest person to the CEO. Okay, and speaking of that big picture,
Yeah.
how do you keep that shared understanding going? Not just in the immediate team, but with all the stakeholders. What should communication really focus on to keep everyone aligned on the destination?
Right. The key here, and this often gets messy, is that communication needs to primarily focus on the product vision and shared goals. It sounds basic, maybe, but think how often meetings get stuck in technical details, or who's doing what task, or just arguing about the budget or the deadline. Those things matter, sure, but they aren't the point. If you connect it back, a clear product vision isn't just some statement you put on the wall. It's got to be a constant reference point for everything. It gives that unifying direction, making sure everyone gets the why behind the what, stops you getting lost in the weeds.
Absolutely. Makes total sense. Everyone needs to know the fundamental purpose. But okay, once we're aligned on the purpose and the path, how do we know if we've actually, gotten there? What really defines success? How do we measure if we're hitting the results, the outcomes we wanted for whatever we're building?
And this is where a lot of teams stumble. They end up measuring activity, not impact. The critical insight here from our source material is key performance indicators, KPIs. KPIs are specifically designed to define and measure the results and outcomes. They're different from, say, technical requirements, that's how you build it, or feature list, that's what you build. KPIs tell you if the thing you built actually made a difference. Think building a bridge, that's activity. But did it cut down traffic? Did it boost the local economy? Those are the outcomes, and that's what KPIs measure.
That's a really powerful distinction. Okay, so these three things: roadmaps to guide, a shared vision to unite, and KPIs to check if we're truly winning. They feel critical for any kind of project, any team. Whether you're building software, or planning a bake sale, or even just trying to manage your own finances better, they keep you aligned, motivated, and focused on what really counts. Because we've got our North Star. Now, the next huge piece is really getting inside the heads of who we're building for. How do we get past assumptions? Really understand our audience. It boils down to empathy, doesn't it? Deep empathy. We might think we know what users want, but really grasping their motives, their pains, their gains. That's deeper. Harder, maybe, but way more rewarding. So what's a really effective technique, maybe even a surprising one, for a team to get that shared, deep understanding? It's not just about asking, what do you want? Is it?
Exactly. And what's fascinating here is how a simple tool, a visual tool, can just completely change the game. It turns abstract data into something you can almost feel. Our sources point strongly to the empathy map. So instead of just looking at like demographics or what competitors are doing, an empathy map makes the team chart out what a customer sees, what they hear, what they think and feel, and what they say and do, plus their specific pains and gains. You're basically trying to walk in their shoes, understand their whole experience. It creates this shared, human-centered view that leads to much better decisions. You suddenly see things from their angle, which honestly can be quite a revelation.
That's brilliant. It makes the customer real, doesn't it? Not just a row in a spreadsheet. But okay, how do you actually get that rich information? Say you're talking to a customer or watching them use something. What skill is really key for picking up the important clues?
Yeah.
Especially the stuff they might not say out loud.
Yeah, zooming out a bit, it's not just about passively hearing words. The sources use the term alertness, which I think is great. Alertness is that critical skill. And a surprising insight is that sometimes the most vital feedback isn't spoken. It's a pause maybe, or a frown, or how someone keeps struggling with the same step. When someone on the team notices, say, consistent frustration across multiple customer interviews, they're not just hearing words, they're actively listening, they're recognizing important signals, often nonverbal ones. That kind of sharp observation highlights the unmet needs, the opportunities that a less attentive approach would totally miss.
Alertness. I really like the word for it. Noticing the patterns, the unsaid stuff, the emotional cues that really explain behavior. Okay, so after all that deep understanding, after using empathy maps and being alert, what's the most critical question we should ask ourselves to make sure that what we actually build solves a real problem, delivers genuine value, and isn't just, a feature we thought was cool?
Right, because the real danger is building features instead of solutions that actually matter. The most critical question, according to this material, boils down to, what is the value proposition for the customer? This goes way beyond just, did someone ask for this feature? You know the old saying, if you ask people what they wanted, they'd have said faster horses. The value proposition of a car was something different entirely. It forces you to spell out how your product solves a real problem, delivers real benefits, not just focusing on cost or timeline or ticking off a request without understanding the why. It ensures you're building something essential.
Developing that customer empathy, listening with real alertness, and always focusing on the value you provide. These are skills that just translate everywhere, don't they? Stronger relationships, better communication, better results in pretty much any part of your life. It's fundamentally about understanding and serving others. Okay, so what does this all mean for how we actually, build stuff and refine it? This next bit is all about staying flexible, using data, making sure we're always working on the most valuable thing right now. Let's dig into prioritization. There are always endless possibilities, limited time and resources. How do teams decide what gets done first in the next work cycle, the next iteration?
What really jumps out here is that good prioritization isn't one person deciding. It's more like a collaborative dance to get the most value. The sources say the most effective way is collaborating with stakeholders to refine and order the product backlog. Think of the backlog as that master list of everything that could be done. Refining means making sure each item is clear, understood. And ordering it collaboratively ensures the most valuable, most strategic stuff gets done first. This really avoids less helpful ways, like just doing things in the order they were added, first in, first out, where old, unimportant stuff might block urgent things. Or just letting people pick whatever task they fancy, which leads to scattered effort. It's about a shared, smart decision.
That collaborative piece feels so important. It changes the focus from my tasks to our most valuable next step. Okay, but even then, we all operate on assumptions, right? About what customers want or how they'll behave. How does a team effectively check if those beliefs are actually true or if they're just, wishful thinking?
Yeah, and the bigger point here is that validation is how we swap guesswork for actual informed decisions. Our source material says you need direct input, real-world data. So effective techniques include things like conducting market surveys or A/B testing. These give you solid, evidence-based insights, much more reliable than just relying on internal opinions, or worse, skipping customer feedback just to go faster. Real data is basically the antidote to assumptions. It helps make sure you're not just building something in an echo chamber.
Absolutely. Data keeps us honest. But what if the data tells you something really disruptive? Like, what if a proper market analysis shows your target customer is completely different from who you thought? What's the most effective response then? Do you just push ahead with the original plan?
That really asks the tough question, doesn't it? How adaptable are we really when the facts change? Are we brave enough to pivot? The source is pretty clear. If new data points to a different target customer, the team has to pivot the product's scope. They need to adjust to address that newly identified customer. Just carrying on as before, it's like aiming at a target that's already moved, you'll miss badly.
Mhm.
Just changing the budget or the deadline won't fix a fundamental mismatch with who your customer actually is. It's about being agile enough to change direction based on solid evidence, even if it's a big shift. That can be one of the hardest calls to make, but also one of the most vital.
Right. That ability to prioritize. Well, test your ideas with real data and then actually adapt when you learn something new. That's such a critical skill set for dealing with uncertainty. For succeeding anywhere, really, business, startups, even personal stuff like changing careers, it's about being agile in your whole way of thinking, not just following a process. Okay, finally, let's talk about the people, the ones who make it all happen. Because even with the best plans and customer knowledge, success really hinges on how well the team works together. And in today's world, lots of teams are spread out, right? Different places, different time zones. How can a leader like a product owner build that emotional connection, that sense of teamwork, when people aren't in the same room? It's a genuine challenge.
It really is. And what's surprisingly fundamental here, maybe the bedrock, is psychological safety. It's not just about making people feel good. It's actually a catalyst for innovation, for problem solving. Our source suggests the most effective approach is facilitating regular check-ins and promoting a psychologically safe environment. Psychological safety. That means creating a space where everyone feels okay speaking up, sharing ideas, admitting they made a mistake, asking maybe a dumb question, all without fear of being judged or punished. This builds trust and connection way better than just hammering deadlines, which adds stress, or only focusing on individual metrics, which can kill collaboration. And just using email, forget it. You need that human connection, that safe space for people to feel valued and heard. That's what unlocks a team's real potential, especially when they're distributed.
That feels so incredibly vital, whether you're officially leading a team or just working with others on something, fostering that open communication, regular connection, that safe space. It's paramount. It's really the foundation for any successful group effort, whether you're remote or sitting side by side. Wow. Okay, what a deep dive that was. From strategic roadmaps and really getting customer empathy all the way to agile validation and building connected teams. We've hit on some truly fundamental stuff today, and all sparked by exam questions. We saw how a roadmap gives direction, a clear vision aligns people, and KPIs measure what actually matters. Then we got into understanding your audience using things like empathy maps and real alertness, making sure you deliver actual customer value. And finally, that whole agile mindset, prioritizing together, testing assumptions with data, being brave enough to pivot, and underpinning it all, creating psychological safety in the team. These aren't just for product managers, are they? They're powerful ways of thinking for any challenge, just universal wisdom for dealing with complexity.
Absolutely. This whole dive reminds us, I think, that success isn't just about having the good ideas. It's about the disciplined execution of understanding, validating, and adapting. Those are the timeless tools. They let us move from just good intentions to real, tangible results. So maybe as you think about all this, the question becomes, what problem will you try to understand and solve next? Using these principles, how can you apply this framework to your own work, your team, maybe even your own personal goals?
That is a powerful question to sit with, something to take away.
Oh,
Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you feel a little more informed, a bit more agile in your thinking, and ready to tackle whatever's next with real confidence.